Skateboarding is one of the most popular sports in the world. Today you will learn some new facts about skateboards as Brandon shares his knowledge with us. Brandon will be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes and presenting based on his research of skateboarding. Please help me welcome Brandon Carrasco to present his speech titled Skateboarding, Now You Know. Brandon?
What on earth would prompt an old guy like me to even care about skateboarding? I never was into skateboarding when I was a kid. I remember having a skateboard when I was a really little kid. I was probably too small to have a skateboard. And really all I did was sit on my butt and scoot around on it for a little while, and then I remember it got given away at some point, probably in a similar incident to Michaela and David's incident, except it was my mom saying, "You never use this, we're giving it away." But June 24th, my son turned 7. Grandma bought him this skateboard, and it was pretty cool. What happened is, once it came out of the box, and he started learning how to ride it in the driveway, a few other kids started learning how to ride it in the driveway, and what happened to Mom and Dad? We had to learn how to ride it in the driveway too, which turned out to be a lot of fun. So after learning how to ride it in the driveway, like total amateurs, for sure, we started posting some pictures on social media. Friends and family and other people saw those pictures. My mom showed the pictures of her grandkids to some people at work. And all of a sudden, these skateboards started coming out of nowhere. So we now have 4 skateboards because somebody at my mom's work gave her a skateboard that was old that her brother had left in a closet at some point. Somebody else had an old skateboard they used in college that was just sitting there. They gave that skateboard to us. Somebody else let us borrow this skateboard. And so all of a sudden we had 4 skateboards. And now it was a lot of family fun to take them to the park and ride up and down the sidewalks or just keep riding around the driveway. And now more people could ride skateboards at once. We got the bug to the point that on the 4th of July, we planned this family outing to spend a half a day at UNM with endless sidewalks and long sloping hills. And we took our 4 skateboards and a wagon full of stuff, and we went to UNM and we rode around on skateboards all day. Well, this last weekend, we went to a skate park for the first time. Never gone to a skate park. My thought was the little boys, the girls were at Grandma's house, but the little boys would try to ride a little bit on the half pipe or try to go down a ramp or whatever. And my wife and I maybe would just ride around the flat parts of the skate park. By the time we left, I wasn't quite as brave as my wife. I went down some ramps. By the time we left, my wife was going down ramps and going up others and coming back. And it got to the point where we eventually agreed, hey, if you're going to do anything crazier than this, you need a helmet, because she didn't have a helmet. The little boys did. They were going down ramps. We had a blast. So I decided that should be my research topic. I should learn a little bit more about skateboards. And so today I'm going to talk to you about 3 things. I'm going to talk to you about what makes up a skateboard. I'm going to talk to you about the history and the rise of the popularity of skateboarding, and then I'll talk a little bit about where skateboarding as a sport seems to be going. And along the way, I'll sprinkle in a few fun facts. First, let's talk about the parts of a skateboard. A skateboard is made up of 3 major parts. The first one is the deck. It's the board. And the deck is made up of what we would call plywood. Layers of wood, usually with a hard maple veneer on the outside to make it stronger. What's interesting is that same manufacturing process is similar to some furniture manufacturing. And so the first skateboard manufacturers overseas that made high volume skateboards were actually furniture manufacturing companies to start with. The second major part is what's called the truck. It's this mechanical structural piece here that holds the skateboard up, typically made out of aluminum. And then there are the wheels, and they have the bearings inside of them, and they're made out of polyurethane. And some are softer and some are harder, but those are the 3 main parts of a skateboard. So fun fact, there are different types of skateboards. There's the longboard. They're usually about 42 inches or so in length, according to a book by a guy with the last name of Hamilton called Skateboarding. And then there are shortboards that are the typical skateboards that you would usually think of that have the 2 curved up edges. And then there are these little mini boards, which Lawrence impressed me with his knowledge as I walked in, because this was something I just learned. These are called penny boards. Now, yes or no, do you know why they're called penny boards? because they were originally made by a company named Penny, or they were originally made by a company in Australia in a city called Penny, Australia. And so they have the name of penny boards. And while they're little mini compact boards, and now they're super cheap and usually about $20 and thought of as kids boards, people do use these as a compact skateboard, and a full-size adult can totally cruise around on these and have something that's easy to carry. Where did skateboarding start? In the 50s in California, according to Skateboarding Street Style book that I read, surfers wanted something to do when they weren't hitting the waves. And so in the 50s, they started putting roller skate wheels on the bottom of flat boards. Now those had the tendency to break, and they weren't very easy to control, and so people started figuring out better ways to manufacture them. And skateboarding has evolved since then. And it's risen and fallen in popularity, but it really came to be popular in 1995 as the X Games came to be and made skateboarding a very popular sport. That's only continued, as according to X Games statistics now, there are more than 1 million people in the US alone that watch skateboarding on the X Games on television. The X Games are held all over the world, and so skateboarding has become a mainstream sport throughout the world. Another fun fact: if you ride with your left foot forward, like most people do, that's called normal. But if you ride with your right foot forward, that's called goofy. There's nothing right or wrong, and a good skateboarder can do both, but that's what it's called. I tend to ride goofy. Where is skateboarding going? Skateboarding in 1996 was showcased in the Atlanta Olympics when a skateboarding icon named Neil Hendricks was asked to put together a show, a skateboarding show, for the closing ceremonies. Little did he know that all these years later, he would be organizing Olympic events for the main Olympics coming up in 2020 in Tokyo, where skateboarding will be showcased as an Olympic sport. What's interesting, he mentions in an article on the Olympics website, is that skateboarding has such a unique culture that one of the biggest challenges they're running into is actually what type of apparel will be allowed in the Olympics as officially allowed apparel. Final fun fact: the first trick that any serious skateboarder needs to know is something called an ollie. It's where one foot pushes down the back of the skateboard, the other foot comes up, and it allows the skateboard to pop up in the air, and then this foot pushes it forward to flatten it out, and you essentially jump the skateboard. And the ollie is an important trick because so many other tricks are dependent on being able to jump the skateboard up in the air, like doing a flip with the skateboard, or riding on a rail, or other things like that. While I'm an old guy, I'm probably not going to pursue a career in skateboarding, and you probably won't see me in Tokyo riding the half pipe, competing in the vert competition. I do think it will continue to be a fun family outing for us. I think I'll continue to have a lot of fun with my kids as they learn more and more how to ride skateboards. When you see a 4-year-old able to ride a skateboard down a ramp and up the other side of a ramp and maintain his balance, it kind of challenges you as a parent. You got to do a little bit more. And my wife and I are actually planning a date where we take a couple of longboards and just go out skating for an evening. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to continuing. And now that you know, hopefully in 2020, when skateboarding is in the Olympics, you might be a little bit more excited to see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. 1 minute, please. Please, everybody, remember to write a few comments for our speakers.